Yo, here I have a 2014 Acura ILX. The victim's complaining about a no start issue. He said the battery died on him, so he replaced the battery and it still wouldn't start. Came here on a hook with a dead battery, so I put a charge on it. It's been charging on a 2 amp charge overnight. It looks like it's fully charged now. The tow truck driver put a booster pack on it and he got it to start. Started smoking his cables. Hook a battery tester up to it. Sitting right at 13 volts. Turn the switch on for 10 seconds. It says it's 1,000 cold cranking amp battery. The battery says it's 500 cold cranking amps, so battery must be good. The thing starts just fine for now. The victim also said that once in a while he'd hit the start button and it wouldn't start, and he'd just keep pressing it until it would, and that's telling me it's got a bad starter. The problem is there's no real way to test a starter when it's working, so I'm probably just going to end up throwing a part at it. First thing I'm going to want to do is disconnect this negative battery terminal. It's got a really small ground here. And the ground is going down on the core support, kind of by the left headlight right there. And then there should be an engine to body ground. There's probably a couple of them here and there. There's another ground that goes from the body to the engine. They all look like they're present, so I'm going to rule that out. I'm going to throw an ammeter on here. Yellow goes to 10 amp max. Black goes to COM. Amps internal. Just run it in and out of the negative cable. I got 1.18 amps. Should fall asleep. I need to get 0.06 amps or less. If it's over 0.06 amps, I know it's got a parasitic draw of some kind. As soon as all these modules fall asleep, it should go down a bit. And there it is. It took a couple of minutes, but all the modules fell asleep. I got 0.02 amps, so that's 2 milliamps. That's just fine. I don't see a problem with this electrical system, so I'm going to throw a starter at it. And leave this battery disconnected for the rest of this procedure. I'm underneath the car. It looks like I'm going to have to get at this starter from underneath. There's a nice big plastic cover under here I'm going to have to take off. Usually a good snowstorm rips these things right out. I just got to find out where all the little clips are. I'm just taking a little pick and I'm picking out the centers, trying to get these loose without breaking them. They're kind of brittle, so you got to be kind of careful with them. Kind of work them around until they loosen up. Looks like I got all the little plastic clippy things. Well, there's some 10 millimeters here and there. I got one left, I think. Ew, ew, that one don't look good. Ew, yucky. What is that? Looks like the guy found himself a curb. He whacked that bolt with it. It's bent really good. I gotta figure out how to get that out. Then this panel can come off. The last victim that showed up here gifted me a creeper. I modified the thing so I can roll around when I don't have enough room on these low lift cars. Seems to be working out pretty good. Thanks, victim. Well, I found a starter. It's on the rear of the engine towards the firewall. Looks like there's a sensor or something in my way with a couple of 10 millimeter bolts on it. This wire's in my way. Got a little sensor back here with a plug in it. Looks like there's a little tab here I can push in on this. Try to pull this connector off. Got that out. Flop that out of the way. Now I can get at that 114mm bolt there. I don't really like pulling on this wire, so there's a couple of tabs on this piece of plastic here I can squeeze in with a needle nose and try to get this metal plate off of here. That's going to make my life a little easier putting it back on. I'm going to try to get at this 114mm bolt here. Looks like I can get at it with a deep well in a ratchet. Now I should still have one bolt left and some wires I gotta try to figure out how to get at. Now if I was smart, I'd probably take off the intake manifold and get at everything from the top and take the starter out from the top, but unfortunately I'm not that smart, so I'm gonna make my life more difficult and get everything out from the bottom. Looking like this passenger side tire is gonna be in my way. 19mm on these. Now that I can kind of see what's going on, looks like there's some amazing bracketry up here I gotta take off. I can get my hand way up from behind and get at these two 10mm right here. Now looking from the back, the same place I put my hand to get at those two 10mm. I can see there's a 12mm. I got a 12mm on a swivel socket and a 3-foot extension I'm going to try to jam up here. Out comes the bracket. Now there's an amazing bracket for this knock sensor that's attached to a bracket that's on the starter. And there's a little tab back here. I can push down on this tab and I should be able to pop this out, and it's good and stuck. It's kind of rusted in the clip. I'm going to give it a little friendly persuasion. There it goes. Well, I got that clip out. There's a big fat green clip right here too. And I can feel with my finger, I can push up on a tab on the back side of that and push that up. And that's out of my way. That's the one I'm talking about. Looks like I have another amazing bracket up here. I'm sure most people just break this thing. I'm going to try to get it off without breaking it. I got like a 2-foot long screwdriver here. Pop that out. I can barely see the head of this bolt. It's a really long bolt on the outside, so you can get at it easy enough. I'm going to get up here with a 3-foot extension and a 14mm swivel socket. Some fun maneuvering, but I got it. That's what that bolt looks like. Looks like there's another lovely clip on this block here. I can pull this tab back and pull this out. That'll just give me a little more starter wire to deal with. Looks like there's a brown connector there with a knock sensor on it. I'm going to leave that on though, because I can't unplug that knock sensor. It's buried really bad, and I don't want to be tugging on that connector, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Now pretty much the same spot where I put that long extension, I got to squirrel my arm up in here. I hope you got long gangly arms like I do. Try to get my finger on this tab right here. Push down on it, pull that connector out. Now I can get my long gangly arms on this rubber tab here and pull back on it. And that'll give me access to my starter nut. I gave that boot a really good yank to get it out of my way. Now just like that 14 millimeter, I'm gonna get up here with that 3-foot extension and a 12 millimeter swivel socket. I should be able to get this nut off of here for the positive cable. Get my gangly arm up here and pull this wire out of the way. So for now, I'm just gonna kind of kick it out of my way. I got it this far. And there it is, it's out. What a pain in... I'm gonna get a remanufactured Remy starter for this. So I don't want to have to do this twice. They're usually pretty good remans. I need a core though, so I gotta bring this in. I don't know if these brackets are gonna be on the starter I'm getting or not. So I'll probably bring a wrench with me. I went to the store and got this Remy starter. I was correct too, these two brackets, they didn't come with the starter, so I had to swap them out at the store. I just brought an 8 millimeter with me. And you only want to take one of these bolts out one at a time and put them in, because if you take them both out, this starter can come right apart. These bolts too, they only get tightened to 7 foot-pounds, which is 84 inch-pounds, and that's the same with this positive terminal end. That's a 7 foot-pounder as well. There's a nut up here too, and this cap wasn't on this, and so I took the factory cap off of the other starter and put it on. It wouldn't stay on, so I super glued it down. And I'm really not going to do a video and sticking this thing back in the hole because it's, well, crammed in there, and I really can't do any good video on it except for what I've already done. So just reverse the procedure. And these bolts here, these little 6x1 millimeter, 10 millimeter head bolts, these all get torqued to 8 foot-pounds. These two do too, which is 96 inch-pounds. And then I got this 12 millimeter bolt here. That one gets tightened to 16 foot-pounds. And then these two starter bolts, you want to do both of them at 33 foot-pounds. So if you can get a torque wrench in there and you want to do that, you go right ahead. These little wee handers for the bottom skid plate looking thing get torqued to 8 foot-pounds or 96 inch-pounds too. After quite a bit of struggling and choice words, I finally got this thing in here. If I had to do this job again, I would remove the intake manifold. Now I'm just going to start this thing up before I put this bottom cover on and make sure it works. As far as these terminals go, I like to make sure that they're all the way down. Most people that put batteries in here don't do this because the top post is tapered. So the farther down you get it, basically, the more this clamp opens up. A lot of times I like to just take a screwdriver and just pry it open and push it all the way down. It's a pretty simple thing. I don't know why a whole lot of people don't ever do this. You don't need to reef it down. It doesn't need to be super tight, just enough to keep it from wiggling around. It's nice and solid. Same with this one. There's a little groovy in here. Pry it open, push it all the way down. Now I'm going to try to start this thing up and see if it runs. I tried it 3 times because 3 is a charm and it sounds like a starter. Tire. 80 foot-pounds on tire. Big dumb cover. Quite a few of these plastic clips busted off. You rake things under the ground and they just rip right off. Such a stupid idea. So, I don't know, looks like I'm not going to hurt anything to just put some self-drilling screws in here because I don't have any plastic clippy things. Just like that. And it's a job. Okay, bye.